Hello.
It's almost ridiculous. Like it was hard to get you on.
It wasn't almost, it definitely was. Yes, because
Yeah,
of
how are you
the
doing?
snow. I'm good. How are you?
You have snow again?
No, I was just referring to the first
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
fiasco.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, we had in Miami also a few very cold days, but not
Oh,
snow.
did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw someone in Sarasota that had like icy windshield or something.
Yeah. Where are you located exactly?
I'm on the Cape, little sandbar off of
Oh yeah, yeah,
Massachusetts
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
remember you said that. Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So now we finally made it after 6 tries or so.
I
So it
know.
doesn't
Thank you
matter.
so much for your flexibility. I
The
appreciate it.
flexibility of Instagram. Yeah, I could not change your email anymore or your handle because I didn't have the time. I had clients until recent, just now. So that's it.
No worries. I
Now,
just put a little thing on my story with the correct one. Yeah.
great. Yeah, you know what? And we put it afterwards here. So it's always, you can say your handle if you want to say that. You can say it at the end. You can put it out there. It's fine. People will find you. So
Sure.
let
Yeah.
me actually ask you to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yes. So I am Wendy Davis, and I am a coach, and that's how we met in a coaching program. So I'm just have recently started a coaching business, and in a nutshell, I sort of 18 months ago had a bit of a reckoning. I have a background in sales and entrepreneurship, and some investment, real estate, those kinds of things. And then I was a bit in a golden handcuff situation and found myself after COVID, with a crisis slash opportunity to
Yeah.
really go, okay, all right, let's find out what really matters. And I've taken my life and my career in 180-degree change, a different direction. So it's been a really powerful, like 18 months, but especially the last 9 have been really incredible. So yeah, that's a little bit about me anyway.
That's fantastic. The way you describe it, I like because it is, yeah, a challenge, and we are
Mm,
challenged all the time to what to do with it. Are we going down or are we going up with it? So
yeah.
you have, I know you had a great career before this change. And what is the kind of style of coaching that you're doing? What is the kind of road you are walking now?
No, it's a great question. I mean, I have a ton of interest, but the type of coaching that I'm doing so far is sort of the client is like me 2 years ago, right? So outwardly, I have the markers of success. I have, I don't want for things. I can sort of do what I want, but I'm not fulfilled. I'm wondering, is this it? Like, is this really all there is? Like, there's nothing more. But not really aware of the drivers underneath that, right? So I wasn't really
Hmm.
aware that I was so out of alignment in terms of my own values that was a huge contributor. So my path has just been, I say this all the time, and it's so much of it is just awareness. And then once you have the awareness, then you can start to make intentional
Yeah.
choices, right?
Okay, so awesome. So you started a new career, and we met at Xander Fryer's program,
Yeah, which was an amazing
and
program.
very nice. Now you have to be silent. Come on. And so, what kind of clients are you looking for, and what kind of coaching trail are you on? Are you seeing in front of you?
Mm. That's been super interesting too, right? Because the clientele that you think you're going to draw and the clientele that actually shows up and is ready to like do the work has been an interesting mix for me. It's been corporate, it's been entrepreneurs, it's been people wanting to get more awareness and just maybe change organizations, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it all has the same overlap of the awareness piece and the mindset piece, and getting aligned, because no matter if you're an entrepreneur going, I don't know if this is lighting me up anymore, and I might want to do something else totally and like go work for somebody. Or, you know, I'm a VP of sales and I'm like, you know, brought in as a thought leader and I'm sort of being micromanaged, and I need to figure out how to get buy-in from everybody so that the organization can be empowered and grow. There's been all kinds of different things, but it's definitely career coaching and mostly transitions of one type or another.
So that means one transition in your career to another career, actually what you did yourself recently, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah. So I know it was a great experience for you, but it is, yeah, it's interesting because in this time now with the COVID situation, still the pandemic, so many people I hear, and in my own clientele as well, that there's so much fear coming up or insecurity, and some people get really down from that, and others create new things. And yeah, it's always a choice, of course. What do you do with it? And I really, yeah, it is. You know, it's so easily said. Follow your dreams, follow your passions. Well, if you don't know exactly what your dreams are, or you don't know exactly what your passions are, or you don't see the plan how to do it, it's just not easy. It is so phenomenal if you can be your own entrepreneur. And that's something very popular, I think, today. And you're doing that now too. So how is that for you? Because you were in the corporate world, you were in a way on a payroll probably, right? You were in a situation that you were hired, which is giving safety, always gives also pressure and all kind of other things. But now you have to create your own. How do you gain your clients? In what niches are you looking?
That's a really good question, because that's like the hardest part, I think, of
Sorry.
what we do. No, in terms of, I mean, that's what drew me to like Xander's program, right? Because in sales, you've got like lead generation and your sales funnel and all that stuff, and it's different. That was one of the biggest challenges for me, actually, was going from like selling other people's products to it's me and how I can serve and what I can do for you, right? So that's a huge mindset shift. And just to go back for a quick second, what you were just saying about like fear and entrepreneurship, especially in the time of COVID, this big disruption and sort of dissolution of lots of things that people held as truths or whatever. It's really hard to separate, but I find it super fascinating. And I love the work of trying to find out where like the socialization, the culture, and what you really want, like, how does that all fit? Have you really, because for myself,
I do not hear you now. Something happens?
yeah, it cut out for a second. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, good. You know, just recognizing that maybe like in my instance, I was striving for the title or the next rung and that kind of thing. And it wasn't intrinsic, right? But I was unconscious of the fact that I was striving for things that were sort of, you know, that are either downloaded from when you're a kid or just society and culture and all those drivers that are at play that you don't realize.
Yeah.
Which, you know, just rolls into all that fear about stepping outside of that because it feels really scary. But I mean, it's just totally worth it. And I'm sorry, remind me again of what you just asked me, because it just sparked that other thought and then I got distracted.
Well, I do not totally recall it. It was maybe more how you get your clients and how do you make that transition. But now you bring up the word fear back. I think that's very nice to talk a little bit more about that, because the fear is so much a trigger in so many situations, whether it is in relationships or taking steps or looking at life. And there is a kind of general saying, people think that fear keeps them safe, and that you look all the time for what can go wrong, so you don't do it then. But it also cuts off a lot of stuff that you should actually never cut off, right? Or another way, it's like destroying a lot. But you need also to have your mind there and making good decisions for whatever is your next step. I mean, if you want to become a coach, you definitely need to have education, knowledge, and a product at least that is workable and is needed. And then, you know, clients will align with that. But it's a totally different thing. You have to share what you do and work on that consistently and all that. And so is it difficult for you if somebody says, well, I work here like for 20 years in the corporate world and I'm totally not happy and I don't know what to do now? And yes, indeed, you have often your environment that says, well, keep the safe place, right? Why would you throw that out of the window? And why don't you take risk? You know, and risk is another word for challenge. And I find it very important that you really are aligned with yourself. What is it what you want in life? What is it what you want in life? And I had a few days a client that a very nice guy and very successful in his work, but say, you know, if I could quit it, I would do it every day and I would do something that I really like to do. But you know, my parents wanted me to do this. And I think, well, no, this guy was like in late 40s. And it's like, oh my gosh, you know, it's such a privilege if you can take your faith in your own hands as much as you can, of course, and that you do what you want and that you dare to take that risk and face your fears. But it's not easy. But you know what? I don't think everything is easy. So there are easy things, but it's also how you deal with it, right? And what you're ready to do for it. And it's funny how that works.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple, not easy, right? And like what you were just saying in terms of, I heard somebody mention it, I think it was earlier today, just, you know, every day we have the choice to either evolve or repeat.
Yeah. Wow.
Right?
Yeah. I know
that's how I felt when I heard it. I was like, okay, it's a great reminder to just sort of check in, and that it's just so worth it, you know, to be, and it is an absolute privilege to be able to choose what you want. Most people, myself included, like, you know, don't even consider all of the options, right? It's just sort of like on rote.
Yeah.
And if you consider what 95% of our thoughts are unconscious. So if we're only working really with 3 to 5% of our thoughts being conscious, the name of the game is awareness.
And I think the worst part of that is that the unconsciousness is loaded with our entire life experiences, which we most of the time don't remember. Our past life experience, so you will, and the experience of your ancestors. That's also part of your DNA, but also in your subconscious. And we usually don't have access to that unless we take certain steps. I work a lot with that, and it is very interesting what comes out of there. And I recently heard, it's very interesting to share, we don't have, well, we know that we don't have access to our subconscious our entire life. If you keep it simple, say for your own life experience, right? You will live for X amount of years. And usually psychology starts with the birth. I think it starts before. It starts from the conception to begin with, because then you get also DNA already, emotional DNA. And that there are like 80 people on the planet walking around that have that kind of memory, that they remember every second of their own life and more. But, so
that's crazy.
I don't know those. I would love to meet one day one of them and answer the question, because how can you live? I think we are built so geniusly that it's like, wow, because the traumas are stored. And we need to work on those, because they can bother us or can make us even sick or ill or worse. But you know, there's so much stored there that if you think of your database, you know, if you work with like childhood trauma, it's almost like everybody has something, from very little hurts to bigger hurts. So that's very common. It's all stored there. And if you have like a process trauma, that you have series of the same kind of hurt, like being bullied for a period of time, child abuse at home, which is of course also horrific. So that is in your system, and then it waits until for a while until you're an adult, and you have the opportunity to look at it and to bring it up. And there are very simple ways to bring it up and to look into. And what I find so sad in the process that you describe about the steps you take, or you took and take, is that if you are not aware of that, and you keep hanging in there in your choices, in your steps and everything that you want, then you block yourself unnecessarily, like in relationships too, because the past subconsciously participates. But you just said 90 to 95%. It's hard to define it, but we know that.
It's driving behavior, but you're unaware of it.
Yeah, exactly. And we think it's us, and that's normal. And I'm afraid, so that's normal. And
that's so fascinating, the work that you do. I don't really know that much about like the generational trauma and stuff. Would you be able to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, actually. It is something that many people today speak about, but if you see like in the traditional or the clinical psychology, there is no way to find if you are carrying indeed the trauma of your grandmother that had an arranged marriage and was not allowed to marry the man of her life that she loved, and the bitterness and all the unhealed issues with that you carry that for her because it hasn't been healed. So what you can see with inherited trauma or transgenerational trauma, that it hasn't been addressed, it hasn't been looked at, it hasn't been healed, and then it reverberates to generations. Now that is common knowledge, but if you say like, well, my relationships always fail, should that be because my parents had a bad marriage or my grandparents or this? Well, it could be. With the eye, you can say that, and there are simple things that you can talk about that, but the energy work, if you do different methods, right? If you use, like I said, energy work is using different things. It's not like woo-woo or so. It is because we all exist out of energy, and everything we do is energy. So it's a different way of speaking, and words are energy too. But speaking about it, and you cannot go further than an hypothesis. But to prove that I am suicidal because my entire family has been murdered in the Holocaust, so to say, that you need to prove that in order to say that is true. And you can only, if you think it might be the case, and you can do that with puppets, there are so many ways to do that, but you never find a true reason only with talk therapy. So and unfortunately,
interesting.
And for me it sounds sometimes like, the word psychology means literally knowledge of the soul, and the soul in clinical psychology is left out of the equation. There is only I for what we can prove and see exists.
That's powerful.
And I think our biggest being, is not visible. You sense me, I sense you, but that is that is invisible in a way. So it's also more respectful to the creation of a human to look at the limitations of looking at somebody as only had a behavior, and the therapy styles in the US, and I think in the Western world in general, because that's pretty dominant for therapy. Not in all countries they practice enough therapy, or if at all. Right? So I think 80% is the behavioral therapy. So you modify the behavior, like it's the conditioning. And I think, wow, we are dressed like monkeys and dogs. And I even don't do with my dog this kind of things. I would never hit my dog. I don't talk to him that I'm mad, but he will never understand. Although they sense the energy, right? So there's a lot to say about, and it makes it only for me much more interesting than only modified behavior. And that helps too, because it's also mindset. If you believe that if you have a low self-esteem because you are being raised in a very critical environment, that your parents thought, like most parents, unfortunately, let's be very critical, we point out everything they do wrong. And so your self-esteem goes slowly, you start to like yourself less. And then you need later therapy to build it up again. And if you don't do that and you stay there, you make choices out of, you think you're not worthy enough, so you would not make the step you did. Then you would stay in that job forever, or stay in a relationship forever because you don't think you can be in a better place. And it's so new that people look at that. Not for everybody it's new, but in general, you see that in social media. I find that nice on Instagram. You see so many people sharing things like, wow, a lot of people are I don't want to say the word wake up because that makes that we were still sleeping in the past. I'm not sure with that, but it is a different way of looking at the world and how to outlive and outlive. And the other hand, we fight labels a lot because everybody gets a label today, at least one. If you're not a narcissist, then you're codependent. And it's like, come on, guys, you're much more than your label. There's so much more to say about it. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry?
You had just cut out for a second, but I was just going to say, I love hearing about that.
There's no snow in Florida, but maybe here's another distraction with the internet.
Maybe it's me. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But to go back, and I don't think I actually answered your question, but in terms of where do I find my clients and that sort of thing, it's been an interesting mix of like referrals. And I also am a career coach with Growth Space, which is like a corporate third party that offers partners with corporations to offer executive coaching. So that's a little bit different because there's multiple stakeholders involved, but super interesting as well.
Yeah, so you have actually several branches. So the career and transition coach, and pretty soon you will be certified as a human
potential coach. Yeah, which is basically like 4 modalities. Yeah, it's like that's also very holistic.
Great. That is also a great term, and is also for people that need your services. It's not always easy to see, hey, what is she doing exactly? You know, what do you do when you have those words before the word coach? Yeah. So do you put them in a program, so to say? Do you give them unlimited coaching sessions, or you have like a program that you work on their mindset? How do you do that?
So thank you for asking that. It's an iteration and a work in progress. So right now it's one-on-one coaching, typically an 8-week program. But I am building out something that will include transformational exercises and modules sort of in a self-directed program that you can do on your own that will also accompany the one-on-one coaching once a week. So nice. I'm excited to start building that out.
Yeah, that is awesome. And is that for people in certain branches, or is that for people like always coming from the corporate world that want to go for a different part? Or would you also coach back into the corporate world from somewhere else? Do you do that too? How does that work?
I think that, well, certainly right now, and the way I see it for the short term anyway, would be on the corporate level. I have had, individual clients, but it's kind of nice to freelance with different corporations that offer that. It's just a little bit easier, I guess, in terms of like setup and whatnot. And then I also focus on my program, which is more individual based and not corporate.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. So is there something else you would like to share, but I haven't asked yet, because I know you have a lot to share. So take over. Then I don't ask the question, but you share something you'd like to share.
Gosh, let me see.
Maybe you share something people run up against,
Lost you for a second, sorry. I guess I would just end by saying, you asked me some great questions and sort of my path and how I got here. But to jump back for a second, just the idea of privilege and stewardship. I started out like studying psychology at Syracuse, and I was going to get my doctorate and go into private practice. And then I was like, no, that's not quite right. And I dabbled in some theater. I lived in Manhattan for a while.
How interesting. I didn't know that.
And I thought I really wanted to do theater. And then I came up to Rhode Island with the intention of going back to Manhattan. And then I never left. But it's really interesting to me how I've come full circle back to a profession of service and of stewardship. And I just feel so blessed to be able to do it. And I get just, the goosebumps don't lie, but I just get really excited about the future and what it holds. And sometimes, even though it's been not that long, it sometimes is amazing. I think, how does it go? You overestimate what you can accomplish in 1 year, and you
Oh, yes.
far underestimate what you can accomplish in 5 years, right?
Yeah,
So there's many days where I'm sitting in my office and I'll have a coaching session and I'm like, this is like amazing. Like I've completely changed my life. And that's the same enthusiasm and excitement that I bring to my clients, in terms of a lot of people are just, for whatever reason, unable to see that, and they're in a place where they can't envision that. And that's a lot of the times when I meet them.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and it is, you use the word privilege, but it is, it is a very nice way of saying it, that you serve other people in going to where you have been and know how to go there, and how you can help them move forward. So in a way, we all help each other. You know, it is. Yeah. It is also giving you the great feeling of doing that and making a living out of it. Yeah. Yeah. And
sure.
Do you
What's
have
that quote about just walking each other home? Who is that quote by? Do you know what I'm talking about? I
don't know that. I've never heard it even. So that's a nice quote.
Oh gosh, that's gonna bug me. Yeah, but that's what we're all doing basically, right? Walking each other home.
Yeah. Like, okay, that's funny. And what is home? But home, the place that you're happy?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Wherever you want to be.
Yeah, there are always people left alone, and there are always people jumping off the train at certain times, right? Do you find it hard to make people or keep people motivated if they go to their down points? But since your education is psychology, which I understand is pretty extensive, do you find it hard, or do you find that easy?
When I'm working with clients?
Yeah, when they start to get like losing the trust to do it, or what do you do with them? If they're like, oh, it doesn't work out, I hear 5 times no, I cannot do it. What do you do with that?
You know, it's an inherent part of the process. It's sort of like the breakdown is where there's a huge opportunity for breakthrough. So inevitably, either in a small way or in a large way, somebody's always going to have that. You don't ever have a client that just like does everything, has just like breakthrough after breakthrough, and like immediately. Like there's usually like a little breakdown, and that usually opens up a door for a conversation about what's underneath that. And it's usually some limiting belief or some fear-based idea. Those are the two most common that'll pop up. So I actually get kind of excited about them, because it usually means that we've bumped up against their edge, right? Yeah. And then we can sort of dive a little deeper.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I find it personally much easier to help somebody through that process of the no or the negativity. Yeah. Then I find it easier to do it for somebody else than for myself. I'm very positive by nature, and I have my tools, of course. But I find that it is easier to do it with somebody else, because you have the overview and you're totally there. So you see, in this too, we help each other with that, because I would have other people or another coach, if I would like to do that. You know, it's interesting that you can do so much by yourself. Yeah. And not everything. And you need that soundboard. And you need
the blind spots are still there. Right. Yeah, well, that just reminds me of, that makes me think of, like, you know, you teach what you need to learn, right?
Yeah. And
that to a certain extent.
I started to speak Dutch now to say nee. You teach what you need to learn, yes and no. It is also what is to your interest, right? For sure. And I do very well with no, but I find it is a different process that you do it in yourself, or that you give it to somebody else. I think that giving energy is also nice. Yeah. And you seem like a very giving and kind person. So that's an important trait for coaching. And And
I see that in you as well. And yeah, I think it's often found in coaches. Yeah.
Yeah, it is the idea of I'm also sensitive for the word help, because it gives the other person, I want to help you, that they feel like they cannot help themselves, or it's a bit like powerless. And I find words like coaching is just nicer, because coaching is like, I have some tools And if you're open to that, it could work out well for you. Not to say the word help, right?
Yeah.
But the idea of many people is like, okay, I know this, and I know that would be of benefit of others, so let me do that. But that's not always the way we talk, right?
Yeah.
And
No, absolutely.
I remember one person was a while ago to somebody else, I don't want to be helped. I know it myself. Thank you. I was like, okay, that's great. It was not towards me, but yeah, it is almost like the other one is, that's why I myself, because technically spoken, I'm a doctor, not medically, but in my own profession. And I don't like the word patient because I have the feeling that you're a patient, you're sick, and not all patients in the medical world are sick. You might, if you have broken your leg, you have an issue, right? But still, it's a bit, my sensitivity for the word patient is almost a bit weakening in psychological sense, right? There's still so many guys that don't like therapy for the feeling they get, oh, it means I'm not good enough. I need to learn something. That's what they want me to do. And I need to be vulnerable. I don't want that either. So the whole
run straight against our culture here. Yeah,
that's why I say, but that's, I think, everywhere in the world. I mean, it's more, I think women are a little bit more spiritual than men in general. We have just different brains. We have different systems. That's just what it is. And we vary among that too. I mean, so much. And so I think it's always courageous if you say, hey, that's why I use the word client, because I find that more empowering. You know, I'm a client of a product that I want to give to myself, whether that is emotional healing or learning good communication or becoming a good coach, working with you and finding your help and getting your assistance, not to use the word help, right? And your assistance and guidance in getting to the place where I want to be. Because we do that all together. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So good. So good.
It is. It's very nice. So let's continue this conversation in maybe a while, a couple of weeks, couple of months.
I love that. Yeah.
Then we have some more new steps to discuss, right?
Yes, always.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Is there something you would like to bring up that you think, oh, I would have loved to talk about this and we didn't do that yet?
I think I'm good for today. I'm sure a million things will pop into my head as soon as we say goodbye.
Yeah. No,
that was great. I'd love to hear more about your side too.
Sorry, what did you say?
I'd love to hear more about your work as well.
Yeah. Well, you want to do that now?
Or we can hit pause and do it next time and sort of dig in a little deeper.
Yeah, I have said already a little bit, of course. I call myself holistic psychologist because I combine the clinical knowledge together with metaphysical concepts and alternative healing modalities as well. And that are proven. They're not, they're really working and tested. So my work is focused mainly on indeed emotional healing and creating the tools and giving the tools in creating great relationships that also are not only loving, that means you have to clear up with yourself certain things too, but also lasting. And I find it, if I open that book or that can of worms maybe sometimes, it is, to me, it's very shocking how very few people on this planet are really happily in a relationship. And I think you're one of those. So that's good.
I am.
You're one of those, you and your wife. Yeah, I know that through your energy. But for many, it is not the case. And sometimes you think, oh, this looks great. No, behind the curtains is different too. But that is because most of the time, because what we carry, again, in our subconscious, but maybe also carry from generations or from a past life. If you think about a karmic contract, if you think, very simply said, in my last life, I murdered someone, so in this life I will be murdered myself to learn that experience. That's the theory for karmic contracts, very simply said. We don't know if it's totally true, so I will never say that is it, even though you can feel it is true. But this is a bit the unseen world. We cannot always make that claim. So I'm careful with that. But with the relationship, I think our parents, well, most of the people that I know, that I've experienced, they had parents that were not totally happy. I mean, years ago, it was hard to divorce, and people stayed in the marriage because they had no way out, and then you get easier affairs too, because you want somewhere to find love if you're not loved at home. And if you're, let's go back to what I said in the beginning about the grandmother that was not allowed to marry the love of her life and was forced to marry a man she didn't love. Well, the children were not born out of love, and sometimes it can backfire on the children too, that the woman is so bitter and angry about her life that she's not the nicest and warmest mother. Now, today's terminology would say, oh, it's not good parenting, and she's a narcissist, whatever kind of remarks would come. But the pain behind there, to my opinion, deserves compassion. The pain behind there needs first to be understood. Now, that's not the grandmother. That's a bit too late because that life is over. But with the inherited trauma, with the inherited family trauma, family constellations, you can see that if you have those blockages in your life with relationships that you don't understand, that it could be an inherited problem that has not been resolved. And in addition to that, it could be perfectly well. I mean, you have grandchildren, right? They're adopted, right? And so you
no,
and sorry,
not adopted. No.
Oh, sorry.
No,
why did I think that? It doesn't matter. But if you get children, you never know. You think they will be like this. They're always different, right? I have 3 children. Yeah. So they're always different. So they come with their own package already. From day one, they are different. So how much love they get in their life, how many things and debacles, how they are raised, that also defines a lot if they will be successful in relationships. So I'm a big advocate to clear first as much as you can about yourself before you say, I'm ready now for an intimate relationship that will really last. Why to just try it right away and get all the things and then stumbling and then 35, 40 years old, like, oh, it didn't work out. I didn't find, because there's something else also with energy. If you, for instance, there's a method that's called the emotion code, and that is one of the methods I use too, and that is about trapped emotions that you have in your energy, in your autonomic nervous system, but also they speak about heart wall. So the heart wall is what you somewhere invisibly, imaginary would say, created for your heart to protect from being more hurt. So you can test with muscle testing of people who have a heart wall. And that's most of the time that they went through trauma and protected themselves. So had their guards down. We have all those expressions, right? How you handle that.
Right.
Now, what is the thing? What I learned not to say anymore. I used to say before, follow your heart. And because, oh, that sounds so great, right? But if you don't think that your heart is symbol for the traumas too that you sense, because you sense that often in your heart, like a broken heart, painful heart. You know?
We use somatic expressions for all of that, and yet dish out the body.
Yes, and it's exactly that energy plays in your body, maybe the heart chakra, whatever. But heart chakra, I should have pronounced that well. So if you don't heal that, you send out your positive vibes because you see a guy, as if you're a girl or you're a man, it doesn't matter. You meet somebody saying, wow, that's a great person, I'm interested. But then you send out those kind vibes, but also the pain points come out because both energies, from very loving to very hurt, are residing in your heart, in that spiritual heart space, however you want to call it. So the person that meets you gets different vibes. So,
and is that where am I following this correctly, or let me know? But like, is that where you might then get a trauma bond because you're sending out both? So what then seems familiar? If you're getting both sort of negative, or am I not following that?
That's a great question. Thank you. No, the thing is, if you send out the hurt signals too, so somebody might think, oh, she's a nice girl, a nice guy, but I'm not sure because those unhealed stuff shows there, and you just don't understand what that is. And there is definitely, it is definitely a difference if you undergo such a treatment. It's a few sessions actually, and you feel different, you feel lighter. I have, and I underwent it a few years ago, and I was like, you know what, I feel so good. I don't, you know, I don't know, I don't feel like I need to go for a healing session or whatever.
Yeah.
Not at all. But then I got intrigued by it, and you have, and I think you know that too. Sometimes the same things shows up on your path over and over a few times. And think, maybe I have to read that book, or maybe I have to look into that, right?
Yeah.
I remember that Deepak Chopra said that he got the Ayurvedic and in the Indian healing, Ayurvedic too. It came a few times on his path in a few days, and okay, now I have to look into it. Well, you see what came out of it.
Right. Yeah.
So with the
somebody's trying to give me a message.
Yeah. Exactly. So with the emotion code, I had that too, that a few days in a row I heard about it. And because I'm always looking, are there things that I can learn to help my clients?
I've never heard of that. That's cool. Yeah.
I can do it with you one time.
Yeah.
It's really great. Yeah, it's great. And so I heard a few times about it and I was like, you know what? I was intrigued. So let me book a session, even though I feel great, just to see what it is. And if I like it, then maybe something to deepen myself in to learn that method, right? And it's simple to learn, actually. You need to take classes, but it's not that you say you have to go years to school for it. So I booked that session. You're fine. My dog is now having a bad dream. I'm not sure you're here. He's not crying.
A little something.
Yeah. So I booked that session, and it was very nice. And how she did that, she found, you do it on distance, this was on the phone, you can do it in person, but you can do it on proxy too, and that works. I do it also on animals, on cats that have issues, on dogs or whatever. I don't do it much because I'm more busy with people, but so I was sitting there and I got some questions, and she said, I see at your age of 7 something happened that's still there, but it could make sense because then I had what did I have? A difficult lung disease, tuberculosis. So there was like a shocking experience. I had to be out of the house in a kind of hospital. And she said also certain things like when you were 27, where she also sent by measuring that. So she took out a few things of my system, right? Or subconscious.
Really interesting.
And but it were not totally big wounds. I was not crying. I was not totally upset, but it makes sense. It's still there. It doesn't surprise me because I've never done anything with it around it. And then I was done with that hourly session, and I was like, I thought I felt good always before, but I feel a little lighter, and I felt a little bit of difference, and I waited 2 days, and it was still there, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to learn it. So it is subtle, and I took the course and I did that. It is subtle, but it helps. So now, if you go back to the subconscious, what we spoke about before, you can maybe do 1,000 child, how do you say that? Child clearing. How do you say that? Go back to your inner child clearing, right?
Yeah.
You can say, okay, let's go so many sessions for getting all these things out. I don't think you need to, but you can do some in groups too. It's more the idea. You can also have a general attitude of forgiving things, but that's not enough, because it's easy to say, oh, it didn't matter that it happened, because that's not totally how it works either. But it is, so I would not say go for every little thing, but there is it's necessary to clear your system up, I would say, if you see that you don't live your full potential, if you see that your relationships and your friendships don't go that easily, if you see that you have occurrences on your path that you don't understand, and if you look with an observational eye to your parents and the grandparents, and if you see, well, they all had bad marriages or they were not happy, chances are, I would say 9 to 10, that you're also not knowing how to become happy because you never learned it and you never saw it. And yes, thank God there's therapy, but most of the time people go when it's too late already, and then they, I think, why wouldn't you do that And I think we start really at the beginning of life, that we should not raise our kids in certain ways, that they need to go for therapy, that we've later, right, that we first break them down by making them insecure, what happens at home and in school, and then later on, oh God, yeah, now I go to my therapy to build up again. I mean, that's a bit, the world turns around in a different direction. Yeah, it's very interesting, all this.
Yeah, I love all those modalities, and I'd definitely be interested in the emotional code if you went to. I take you up on that offer. I've done like EMDR, and like the RIM session that we had as part of HIC was amazing. But similar overlap, just in the sense that you're sort of tapping into that unconscious and processing and clearing, right?
That's certainly, yeah. But the family and business constellation work is going on a bigger scale that goes deeper and further. Yeah. And you can also do that with business, you know, organization, that you see even your family heritage impact how you do your business. And there's an overlap that you can discover and then shift that. So that's also very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me, just like when you said too, it's like, it's all energy. Like, it always comes back to me, like a lot of it, so much of it anyway, is, you know, physics in a big way, right? It's like, energy is energy. It gets trapped or it needs to move. I mean, emotion is energy in motion. That's what it means.
Yeah.
So it's like
everything.
You need to process.
Yeah. Otherwise, if there's no energy, it's dull. There's nothing. Yeah, that's what you don't work.
Well, thank you so much, Carla.
Yeah, thank you so much too. It was awesome to talk about these things, and we will continue. And I see you anyway in the meetings.
Yes.
So have a great rest of your evening, and good luck with the last step for your the work you delivered to get back.
Oh, yes, the certification. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you deserve the best. I know. Hey, take care, Wendy.
All right, you too, Carla.
Thank you for being here. Take care.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye. I am Carla from Walsum, founder of Heart-Based Solutions, where I help you with psychology, neuroscience, and holistic modalities transform your life, career, and relationships. If you're new here, make sure you click the subscribe button and hit the bell to get notified for new videos. Any link that I mentioned in this video, you can find in the description box below.